ReZero, Season 2, Episode 15. Time to see what Otto has planned. Man, the way Garf talks. That's gonna make Garf extra mad. Straight to the punching. Oh! And then he fell into a hole. Did Otto make this hole? Damn. Who is this guy? And then Otto used his powers to have Garf devoured by moths. The whole forest. That's terrifying. It looks mildly irritating. Damn, that was overkill victory. He did break damage limit on Garf's soul. Okay, yeah, he can communicate with animals. Oh, he's so cute. Look at little Otto. Even freaked out Otto's cute. What seems like a curse ends up being a gift. You're a freak, Otto, and it's okay. We still love you. There's no hope for him. That's amazing. He has an extreme abnormality. That's cool that his mother was encouraging. Oh, brother. Whoops. It's a good brother. Thanks, bro, for real. Wow. This reminds me of my left foot. I guess he didn't talk. Is that the implication? God, that sucks, man. That's double difficult. And that's actually a really interesting detail. Because like a real language, like English, let's say, or Japanese, you wouldn't be able to understand it right away. You'd have to learn the language first. Up to that point, it's just noise. It's just animals screaming at you all the time from every direction with the power of the entire forest. Also, I may be way off base here, but it feels somewhat notable that this is a very good younger brother, older brother dynamic. I feel like that's rare in anime, actually. I feel like it's always the younger brother getting them into trouble, and then it leads to the death of their mother, and so there's resentment. The older brother goes off on some adventure and then dies. Well, this is just like an older brother saving his younger brother from a life of being misunderstood. Wow, that was great timing. Literally that second. Yeah. I can think of some good reasons why. Yeah, that is one. Maybe some people would tell him to keep his powers hidden because of the embarrassment. But I feel like the less people know, the greater an edge you have. And yeah, also the safety element of it. Though there are definitely going to be exceptions where it would be good to reveal. Like animal medicine. Oh no, we may still get a terrible older brother, younger brother dynamic. Yeah, you can't let your younger brother embarrass himself in front of his peers. You may have overdone this one a little bit. I feel like there were easier demonstrations. That's not the answer. This is probably just to summon fewer Zoda bugs. Oh, damn. What was Otto up to? Damn, this actually makes Otto terrifying. I think I underestimated this power a little bit at first. There's always animals watching stuff. Always. They're always watching you. Whoa. Kill him! Good lord. She's not the one for you, bro. A lot was revealed about her character in a very short time. That was a lot of character development for this random town couple. The main feeling here, I guess, is... I was gonna say loneliness, but there's also some hope. It's a great power. All the magic stuff aside, there's something very cool and relatable about, like I said, the thing that feels like a curse when you're young. Because it's not understood and you don't have power yet, or autonomy to go out in the world and use it, or develop it, and you haven't, like, made the leap yet, outside of thinking that what is normal and the things you see the most are the standard for what is the best or what is good. So if nobody can understand something, if no one sees things in the same way, just by default, you feel like it's a bad thing. It's something you wish you don't have. And then you even long to be like the things around you more, which later on you realize is ridiculous and you're so thankful that it wasn't the case. There are all these things I used to see in my environment that I used to lie awake at night thinking, oh, I wish if only I was more like that, if only I was born that way, only for that to be completely flipped on its head over time. Wow. They just can't handle the truth, huh? It's either eliminate him or all the animals, so... It also adds some color to the idea that he really cares about money. I mean, cast out as a young kid. But it still feels like he's not using his gifts to like the limit of his abilities. Like Merchant is great, but it's not all the way into his gift, right? Wait a minute. Wait, so Otto already had a run-in with the witch cult? This flashback episode is doing its job because it's providing a lot of good backstory in Otto. His relatively isolated nature, his distrust of others to a certain extent, his focus on the material, and his fear, and why he's so afraid to participate in Subaru's insane shenanigans. Oh, it's you. Boss kid. I'm a little bit confused about the chronology here. This actually is one of those things, right? Like being sensitive as a kid. It ends up having its gift element. Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. This is very ReZero too. There is a death and rebirth element to it, right? Because it's grief. You're letting go of a part of something that you've been holding on to. Oh yeah, he can transform. There is a big cat coming. Yeah, I don't need to speak animal to know that. Yeah, right. Thanks for your help though. Oh yeah, I guess animals aren't always going to be sweet either. In fact, probably they're terrible. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, still got some training to do, I guess. This total Otto redemption is great. He's had a great character arc so far. It's his friendship arc. Garf, on the other hand, you know, continues to Garf. So he has items. Getting to see Otto in combat action too. Animal magic plus items. That's a roll. Is this really productive though? Like, I mean, Garf can be a jerk. I know he has a sad backstory upcoming. I don't really care. I'll probably have to put my foot in my mouth, just like with Otto. But this is not it. I mean, what are you even doing? You're gonna kill Otto? You're gonna attack Otto for what? I think with a personality like Garf, you think that the anger, the rage is something that gives you strength, and there's energy there, right? So maybe in some cases that is true. But I think if it's this large a part of your composition, if the people you're with have benign intentions or are good spirited, at best you just push them away. But at the worst, for people who have ill intentions, people like this are really easy to manage and control because they're so predictable. We got all the animals. We got the whole power of the forest. Understandable. He just summoned the power of mud underneath his foot. That's praise from Ram. Some of that might be projection too from Otto. I mean, Otto's that kind of character as well. That's high praise from Ram. This is real love. I think they know him well enough to see through to his core. Here comes the anger. Yeah, he doesn't seem like he's that powerful. I mean, he's got a very strong body. Just with punches. This is humiliating. What? Why? Oh, the horn. Otto is giving his life. He is giving everything. So is Ram. Okay, I know I promised to stay on that stool all night, which was kind of a lot to ask in the first place when there was a bed right there, but I have very good reasons. Garf is really something. I'm actually looking forward to getting his backstory. It's at the point now where he's been so off-putting for so long. It's crossed through the point of just general disappointment in him and into, like, sympathy. I just already feel bad for him because this is not great. Because he's both really angry and off-putting and also, like, just not that effective at doing stuff. He's just kind of flailing around, speaking of loneliness. Maybe Otto and Garf actually have a lot in common. Just very different personal interpretations and characters, so their characters go in different directions. But they're obviously both very lonely, and I guess feel cast aside. Otto Suwen. Yeah, this is definitely Otto's moment.
怒ったりしてない。
なんだよエミリアたん。
I mean, if I'm Subaru, I'm expecting her
まさか俺
anger.
の怖がってんの？怒っちゃいないよ。
That's wild.
焦りもしたし、正直生きた心地がしなかったけど。
そっか。怒っ
Yeah, why would I would be angry. I mean, I broke the promise.
どうして怒ってくれないの？
お、
私
I feel really bad for
し
Emilia.
たでしょ？困らせることしたでしょ？黙っていなくなって心配かけて。
She's in such a fragile state all the time. And the way things have developed with Emilia, it's hard to even set this straight because I feel like it's not intuitive what the problem actually is. The act of comforting Emilia has sort of lost its impact because of the way Emilia has been treated by everyone her entire life, in combination with the way she grew up. So like she comes into consciousness all alone in the forest with her family frozen to ice, which she may have some dim conception was her fault. And so she has no society, no basis for what she is, what life is. It's just a void. And then people start showing up, right? Like Puck shows up, Roswell shows up, Subaru shows up. But in all those cases, with Subaru maybe increasingly becoming the one exception, though not fully yet, it's not wholly about Emilia and like liking Emilia and caring about Emilia. Emilia is something to be pushed or moved in a particular direction towards some end. So Puck arrives with these preconceived notions of who she is and what she means to him and doesn't trust her with the truth, just sort of tries to gently guide her in a direction that he sees fit. Roswell obviously just using her. And none of them seem to have any particular kind of faith in her ability to make decisions. It's like this poor, woeful creature that needs to be managed for her own benefit. Wow, good girl. You're so great. Yes, sweetie. Why don't you just go in your room and play with your toys for a bit? Which is super confusing because there's nothing that she can do wrong and also nothing she can do right. There's no healthy barometer for her to evaluate herself and her own actions and what's good and what's bad because people are just nice to her, but have no actual expectations or hope for like her personally. Getting praised all the time for no reason is confusing and alienating. And I think people who get that sort of treatment for a long time, they start acting out just trying to find what the boundaries are, what the parameters are. Because if you don't have parameters as a kid, even if it's positive, it feels like a threat. Because you're trying to find the structure of your world and you're getting a distorted lens on what that is. This sounds really cold to compare it to animals, but I think there's a parallel. Sometimes you meet these dogs that are just the angel of their owner's eyes and they're praised for everything. Like they bite the hands of their owners and the owners appease this behavior and stuff. And the dog just gets increasingly more bitter and scared and angry. Speaking of communicating with animals, compare that to a dog does something great and getting praised. The dog feels amazing. You know, it's good to know, oh, I can do this to please the owners. If you get praised for everything, it's like, what does anything mean? For someone like Emilia who's worried about her own insignificance and her own capability, to get treated with this sort of default generated kindness response, this patronizing way in which people talk to her, I would imagine it would make her feel more isolated as opposed to less, because it just confirms that she has no significance. In a weird way, it feels like she's looking for parents.
失敗する私に
Right, yeah.
でも優しくしてくれるのはがっかりしてないからじゃないの？
Yeah, she's looking for something. Like, give me something that's real.
どうして約束守ってくれなかったの？スバルもパックも約束破ってどこか行っちゃう。
Right. It's because Emilia, you know, you're just of no consequence to anyone. You're there for convenience when we need you. Of course, they really do care about her. The missing element of it is like treating her like an adult
嘘はダメ。
and being honest.
俺は君が好きだ。
I don't know if that's like the answer here.
代わりにやってやろうとすりゃ、私がやらなきゃって意地張りやがって。結果失敗じゃ口先ばっかじゃねえか。
I mean, it's harsh, but I kind of like it. I don't know.
役目も放り出して大泣きしてふて寝かえ。
This might actually be what she will respond to. Yeah. Because it's actually somebody like looking at her. But it's such a dangerous game because it's so many things at once. She's also insecure. There's so many ways to damage her.
超綺麗なその銀髪も好きだし、潤んでて宝石みたいな紫紺の目も好きだし。 聞くだけで夢心地になれる声も
Again, I love how like in these very delicate, tender moments where he's trying to instill some self-belief in her, he goes to the physical, which is like, I don't know, that's not it right now. Like in the middle of your meltdown about your self-worth and your ability to do stuff, the way people treat you like you're nothing, your hair is so silver. I don't know, man. I don't think that lands with me in this moment. Or like it would in a very kind of saccharine, not long-lasting way. Oh yeah, your arms and your skin, your pale, pale skin. And you're right, you're right. Things that she does nothing about.
ふざけないでよ。なんで急にそんなこと言うの？そんな話してなかったじゃない。
Yeah, I agree.
俺が君を好きだからだよ。俺は君にぞっこんだ。君の全部が俺には輝いて見える。
This is about Subaru though, I don't know. This is very real, this conversation, I
そ
feel.
んな弱いところとか醜いって言えるところまで含めて 俺はエミリアって存在が丸ごと好きなんだ。
I don't know if I want that though.
何がどうだから信じられる。だから好きだ。そうじゃねえんだ。俺は君が好きだ。だから信じられる。こうだ。
好きって
あ
だけで信じる理由になんてならない。
It's not convincing. I agree.
誰が好き好んでお前みたいな面倒な女のためにこんな苦しい思いまでして助けに来なきゃならない。
Oh, this is going terribly. We're doing more damage.
死んでもいいぐらいお前が好きだ。
That's not about Emilia.
今も吐きそうなのにお前の前に立ってんだ。
そんなこと私
Yeah, we're going in circles here. We're just repeating the same thing. Emilia is struggling with a huge burden that is so complicated and interwoven and tricky. I think I've been in this state before, and I encounter people in this state where, like, the wiring got really twisted, and it's at a point now, though it's hard to explain in full detail, where it's just set up for everything to do damage. There's no way through. The mental framework is such a web that it all kind of trickles in and ties back to the same point of confirmation of I'm terrible. There's nothing I can actually do about my life. I'm hopeless. That's the pet belief. That's the thing that's been nurtured and encouraged. And even if someone is trying their best to be logical and think carefully, that has such a strong center of gravity that all mental maps flow from there. And so all inputs also flow back into there. Everything just hits for max damage. Negative things are max damage because they're her fault. Positive things hit for max damage because it's a confirmation that she actually has no significance to anyone. It all feels like they're there, my sweet child. Why don't you go play with your toys in your room? And while she's dealing with all this, and what she feels like is further confirmation of her own ineptitude and irrelevance to other people, Subaru comes in and dumps his emotional baggage on her. So it's like, not only am I dealing with this myself, but now I have to deal with the fact that I'm hurting you, that you feel sick about me, and you love me because you love me. And I'm supposed to do what about that exactly? I'm supposed to now, like, take care of you? I'm drowning here. I don't really have the emotional resources to care about your heart, especially when this kind of praise and love is something I get all the time and I don't trust. It doesn't mean anything to me because it's still not connected to anything so substantial and so strong it can challenge the framework I have of myself where everything leads to pain. That's not all on Subaru, right? That is a problem with Emilia's framework itself. And in those situations, for people like that, just about anything you say or do will by design lead to the same result. But just given all that, Subaru definitely isn't helping, and I feel like he doesn't understand why exactly Emilia is in so much pain. That whole, like, I love you so much, I want to die, it tricks you because it feels really romantic, and you think it's what the other person wants to hear. But it's only a good thing, and they only want to hear it when they themselves already feel the same way. Or if they're, like, kind of there or could be there. It doesn't itself create it. In fact, if it's not there already, it's probably a repellent. It's sickening because I don't want that. I'm looking for strength, right? I'm looking for goodness in my life. I'm looking for someone who can add to my spirit and add to my life and be like a partner in adventure. I don't want to have someone to take care of. I don't want someone so fragile that, like, my every movement risks breaking them. I don't want to be guilted or compelled into love, which is something I can't really control.
俺が考えてんのはお前の前でカッコつける方法ばっかだ。人があれこれ苦労してんだ。少しは思い通りに可愛い顔しろよ。
Man.
お人形さんみたいに言わないで。
Yeah, that's it. Now, I know Subaru, and I know there's something really beautiful about his spirit and his feelings for her. But the way he's approaching this is not it. He really does care about Emilia, and he does a lot for her, and he's extremely generous and giving, to a fault. But then that's getting crossed into that old trap of, like, you owe me, or why can't you see what I do for you? Which itself is not love or not giving. It's personal need.
なのにスバルは
That's a lot of tears.
ママでもちゃんと覚えてるはずだったのに私勝手に忘れてなかったこと
I don't think that was your fault, though.
記憶が全部戻った時
But yeah, it's gotta be a huge shock, right?
私どうなるの
Yeah, who knows what else is lurking there?
大事なのは最初でも途中でもなくって最後なんだから。
This weird, ambiguous message that Subaru kind of gave to himself and then maybe misinterpreted from himself.
俺はお前が好きだ。ずっと好きなまんまだ。
I know, but
信じられない
beyond that, I don't know how much that does for me.
たとえ何がどうだろうと、君はいなくならない。俺は君が好きだ。
There's some things that can't be saved by your feelings of love and regard.
嫌なら避けろ。
Don't kiss her, man. Not now. This feels off. I want to enjoy this when I can. It feels fraught with danger. That's just my gut instinct. This is not a solution. This is avoidance.
前より好きになるぐらいだ。だから俺は君のことをずっと信じてる。
I don't know,
どうして
man.
かって言うなら。
好きだから
It's like a weird, like, closed loop.
知らない記憶が溢れてきて、不安に思って怖いのも当然だ。
Right, okay. That's good.
エミリアは大丈夫だよ。
Yeah, this feels useful.
そんな風に言えるの
We'll make it happen.
俺はお前の味方だ。
Okay, that's nice. I like
何でも思い出
this.
したらいい。
We'll work it out, one step at a time.
エミリアもいろんな不安を蹴っ飛ばして突っ走れるようになる大事な気持ちをだよ。その大事な気持ちが俺に向けられるのを期待したいとこだけどね。
I kind of hope it's not. I mean, I hope that happens as a result or side effect.
この記憶を全部取り戻した中にあるのかな。
You're probably more likely to find it in the present.
歩き続ける理由が。
For yourself, if nothing else. A reason to believe. Oh, interesting. I have very mixed feelings about that.
いやー、待たせたな。
別に待っちゃいねえよ。
Good. Okay. We need that backstory episode pronto so I can stop hating on him. That was a really great conversation. And I have reservations about the content of it and what was expressed. But what I love about it was that it feels like a conversation I might have had at some point. In fact, I feel like I've been on both sides of this conversation before. The misunderstanding they're having, their competing desires and views strikes me as being pretty insightful. Actually, probably a lot of my interpretation of this is me projecting my own life into this, right? But just imagining myself as Emilia first, the problem isn't that I need someone to save me. The problem is my scale of like what is real and what I can trust and rely on has been completely destroyed, or maybe was never built in the first place. I'm in a total vacuum. I'm just floating out into space and I'm looking for one solid thing I can find, one solid foundation that I can stand on and use as a base to like continue building. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? It just has to be something I have enough faith in for the time being that I can kind of like take a breath and stop floating and assess my situation and be like, oh, there's the next one, and add some blocks to my foundation, etc., etc. Early on in life, I think typically what that is like just the structure of your environment and your parents, whatever, your peers, where you're just looking to survive in that world and you get positive feedback or negative feedback depending on what you're doing. And you figure out, all right, if I do things in such a way, I can live my life relatively stably and no danger will swoop in and destroy me. But the feedback is really important there. Even if it's not the best, most nuanced, most important structure, you have a structure. And then from there, you can start to pursue and get more complicated and complex. With a little bit of space to breathe, you can pick and choose what things you want to adhere to and not. It's not necessarily the same thing as praise. This is a ridiculous example, but imagine you're playing a game. It has all the mechanics of a normal game. You have weapons, let's say, and a boss. And if you defeat the boss, you get a message saying you win, and then you get gold or like a weapons upgrade. But then let's say it's also true that when you get destroyed by the boss, you get absolutely annihilated, and then you get a message saying you win, and you get like more gold than you got from the win. The game becomes very confusing and kind of frustrating. None of what you do now has any meaning. There is nothing to climb. The relationship between good action and good reward has been broken, and so the whole thing has been thrown into chaos. You're not looking necessarily for like empty praise or an empty win. You're looking for structure, something you can believe in. And what makes Subaru's answer so confusing is that it has elements of both. The I love you no matter what thing is super confusing, because then, well, again, I've been robbed of any consequence of my actions. This confirms my theory that I have no significance and that I'm just like floating in this world all alone. And yet there is something structured to that, because if his promise is to be believed, at least I know I have Subaru. And I can lean on Subaru. It's just that because the faith of the system has been undermined, I don't think I could even believe that element of what Subaru's saying. If it's not connected to anything I can understand, then it can go just as easily as it came. I don't feel I did anything to earn this or deserve it. So it's not really in my hands, it's in your hands. And once again, that's something external and not in my control and therefore threatening. And like, what do I care about your love necessarily? Big picture, right? Because I think there is some obvious sweetness in that, and there's a temptation to kind of just give into that completely. And I think that can feel nice and be kind of a band-aid on the situation. It's a seductive out for both of them, I would say. But it doesn't really answer the question that Emilia, I think, is asking, which is like, how do I believe in anything? Who am I? How do I navigate this cruel world? What complicates it and makes it more murky is there's absolutely an element of Subaru's own wish fulfillment, his own desire, which again is not really for Emilia's sake, it's for Subaru's sake. So that's an added thing Emilia then has to contend with, which is more confusing. I think the way Subaru actually can help Emilia, and there are some elements of this in the way he's approaching this, is like, he's kind of the rock, right? And he can love Emilia, he can express his love for Emilia, but he has to be so solid in his own emotions and his own actions that through observation she can come to lean on him willingly of her own choosing, and long enough that she can develop something for herself. Overall, my sentiment about their pairing is positive, because even though they're both flawed, I think their hearts are good. They're genuinely decent people, or have that in them, that potential. And they can like get it wrong and sort of fumble their way upwards gradually. Because if they're headed in a good direction, they don't need to be like the perfectly solid foundation from the beginning. They can kind of like hop along each other as they rise. which I think is what a good relationship typically is. I lean on you in ways you're strong, and you lean on me in ways that I'm strong. And in that way, we act as a multiplier on each other so that we can continuously build up. If I was to advise each of them, I would advise Subaru, though this is very difficult, to not ask anything and to not expect anything. And also to not think of Emilia as someone to be managed, and instead just lead with the truth, which does not necessarily include this confession type thing, because I don't think the confession actually is the truth, or it's not being expressed in the most truthful way. Not deliberately, I just don't think Subaru's aware. And I think that's what Emilia is picking up on and why she has a negative take on what he's saying. I do like the ending part of Subaru's speech because I think the outlook is a good one and one that can be trusted, where it's like, yeah, we don't have it all figured out yet, but that's all right. Let's just take it one step at a time, and I'll be by your side, and we can do our best to figure this out as we go. That's nice because it's not demanding, it's not an ask, it's not an unreasonable promise, it's not sugarcoating things, it's a strategy, it's a plan of attack, it's something to focus on. For Emilia, it would be something like, nobody is coming to save you, or people coming to save you is not something you should expect, and probably not what you most need. And that's okay. While you may not know what it's like to have those skills yet, given your history, it's something that you can develop starting now. Bigger than that, and tied into this, is the idea that there is nothing that dictates your identity in the way you're thinking about yourself. Like a lot of characters in the show, in a way that's true to life, she's very wrapped up in like the I am this label type descriptors. I'm so weak, I'm so worthless, I'm so terrible, everything I do causes pain. What I think is cool about that is, even if you don't push back on that, which I think you probably should, let's say you just give credit to that idea. Okay, well, everything you've done has been terrible so far. Like, let's turn that around. Who cares? What's next? You don't need to have experienced something. You don't need to believe something is possible with your whole heart in order for that thing to come true. What you need to do is plot a course and then start moving, giving yourself a little bit of room to learn and figure things out as you go. Perfection also can't be the standard, because then you're just doomed from the start. This maybe is the culprit behind a lot of the label-based thinking, because the standard from the beginning is the super high state, which is unreasonable to expect from yourself when you're starting out. So yeah, if that's your benchmark, you are a failure, and you will always be a failure. It's the wrong benchmark. What made you think you were going to be capable and perfect at everything from the gate? Who told you that? Maybe they had your best interest at heart, speaking of finding the walls and the parameters, but they were wrong. It's a lot to ask because she's floating in this horrible existential vacuum, but it's time to start taking back some of that power. Also, it's okay to fail. It's okay to flounder. Funnily enough, that's actually something Subaru does really well and could help her with. He could impart that message of like, I fail a lot. I fail all the time, continuously, again and again in various ways, but I keep going, and it's a success if I fail less. If I start to figure things out gradually, then my trajectory is correct. Not what you do is irrelevant because I love you no matter what, and you should be sufficient and self-sustaining from my love alone.